The following is a presentation of TFNN. The Morning Market Kickoff with your host, Tommy O'Brien. Now, Tommy O'Brien.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tommy O'Brien, coming to you live from TFNN, 9 a.m. Tuesday morning. We got about 25 minutes to go until the start of trading, and we have markets slightly in the red this morning, kicking things off as we come into quite a big day of earnings, quite a big week of earnings. This week, we got about 1 out of every 3 companies in the S&P 500 reporting their numbers, and we get all the biggest big mega cap stocks as well, so you could call it the biggest week of earnings on the agenda for the whole season. Right now, you got an S&P right near all-time highs. We're bumping up there. We're negative by 7 points, but you're talking about within, 9 points of all-time highs that we made just after the close yesterday. You're trading at 44.07, and we got quite an acceleration. You had Europe opening up. We trade down to about 43.90. We catch a bid, though. We're back to right where we were before that sell-off. We're trading at 44.07. NASDAQ 100 bumping up against the highs we had intraday yesterday as well. We're basically flat right now, 15,118. We'll go over some of the earnings we got. Man, it's going to be a big day of earnings coming up after the bell tonight. We already got some companies out with their earnings. Tesla with their numbers last night, strong numbers. We'll jump over to Tesla in a moment. You get the Dow right now bumping up. How about we make a high in the Dow? Finally get above that 35,000 mark in the futures. Now for the futures, jumping over to the daily, we had 35,000 on the dot, an ode to our man Basil Chapman. He loves those round numbers. Basil just did an outstanding program from 8 till 9. He'll be covering for Tom, my dad, from 3 till 4 tonight. And there's still time, folks. Basil's going to be doing the second leg of his multi-day live webinar tomorrow. That's a 2-hour session, but you can still sign up under the services tab of the front page of TFNN. You gain access to the entire archive Basil did a couple weeks ago. I encourage you to check that out. Comes with a month of his opening call service. If you're already a member of his opening call, you get a free month of the opening call as well. So check out that, $295. But you're getting almost $150 of added value for the newsletter subscription for Basil. But he loves those round numbers, 35,000. We finally break above it yesterday to 35,072. The Dow just under that level in the futures, 34,936. And we get the Russell. Quite the acceleration for the Russell yesterday. I mean, look at this move. Russell, early Monday action. You're trading at 2180. You trade up more than 50 points intraday. That's more than a 2% run from lows to highs. But, man, you almost give it all back. Right now, you're down about 2/3% of the Russell, trading right at about 2,200, we'll call it. Bitcoin holding up somewhat well. We had quite a little sell-off last night towards the closing bell, though. We made it to 40,000, and then just like that, we give up $3,000. You trade down to an overnight low in Bitcoin, 36,425. You had Amazon kind of tapering some of the expectations of them getting into crypto, putting something out. They won't be taking crypto anytime this year, at least. They will be looking into it. Nonetheless, you got Bitcoin back above 38,000. Like to check in on Coinbase, see how they're trading on that as well. Coinbase almost made it up to that 250 mark, which was the arbitrary price they put on there when they went public. Didn't go public, right? It was a direct offering. They had an arbitrary price level, 250. Nonetheless, volatility for Coinbase as crypto catches a bid. Crude market hovering right at around $72, where we were for most of yesterday's action as well. Gold catching a little bit of a bid up to 1803. We jumped to notes and bonds. A little bit of higher price, lower yield. You get the 10-year right now up about 6 ticks at 134.12 right now. Let's jump over to the VIX Volatility Index. I mentioned it yesterday. Keep your eye on the VIX. Anytime you get the market continuing to make all-time highs, which is what this market has done, folks, you put the market on a daily, right? Yeah, we've had some volatility with some big sell-offs in between, but man, it is a straight shot to higher prices. You just zoom it in over in the last couple of months, and you can see, I mean, higher prices across the board. Now, I bring it up because if you take a look at the VIX on a daily basis, we're not making the lows that would make sense. Normally, you get a higher market, you get a lower VIX, right? You get less premium priced into the volatility. That's not the case, folks. We're sitting at almost 1850. You had a higher high in the VIX for the first time on that sell-off on the 19th of July. You reached a high of 2509. We had been seeing a series of lower lows and lower highs. We get a spike high, and the market remaining elevated in the VIX there at about 1858, even as the market bumps up right near all-time highs on a continual basis. All right, let's jump over and start things off with Tesla. Tesla, with their numbers last night, man, they are strong numbers, and they give back a lot of the gains. Interesting to see what would have happened to Tesla if they didn't come in with the strong numbers that they had. Now, getting into what they talked about, how about $1 billion in net income during the second quarter? Now, yeah, so they lost 23 million in Bitcoin. That's like nothing compared to the volatility Bitcoin has had. But earnings, $1.45 versus 98 cents. Revenue, it's a big beat. You're talking about $660 million, folks, over 90 days, right? Decimal points become pretty large when you're dealing in the billions. 11.96 versus 11.3 billion expected. 1.14 net income. That's billion for the quarter. First time it surpassed $1 billion quarterly profit. In a year-ago quarter, net income was only $104 million. Year ago, some weird stuff happening during the depths of COVID. Automotive revenue, $10.21 billion, of which only $354 million came from sales of regulatory credits. Now, they catch a lot of guff over the fact that regulatory credits was one of the reasons why they were swinging to a profit many times in the prior quarters that they were talking about here. If you take out the regulatory credits that they're selling, which is not fair to do, folks, okay? That's a part of their business model. So it's not fair to say if you take that part out of their business model, but it is a point to make when you're talking about the profitability of their cars in itself. But if you had taken that out, they would not have been profitable. Not the case anymore, as they're making more than $1 billion and only $354 million coming from regulatory credits. I mean, percentage-wise, what's that? 3.5% about of their revenue coming from those regulatory credits. The other 96.5% coming from selling cars, $10.21 billion. Still not staggering when you look at the revenue of some of the other car makers. So the multiples Tesla's still dealing with is remarkable. Now, there's your graphical representation of their profit. You see, I mean, from 2010 to 2018, remember, this was the area, folks, that really people started to question whether Tesla was going to survive. Were they going to be able to get through this period where they were just burning cash? And the market was starting to say, hey, you know what? Maybe this plan isn't quite going to make it, because who's going to give them all this money if they keep burning through cash, especially at a time where the other car makers are going to be coming for their business, but they got it turned around in a big way, and I believe they turned that edge in a big way. $801 million in revenue from its energy business, and that's talking about solar photovoltaics and energy. Yeah, big numbers. Let's see, 951 million services and other revenues. So they got 598 stores and service centers and a mobile service fleet, including 1,091 vehicles, an increase of just 34%. I'm talking about they were building out energy chargers in there as well. Excuse me. Yeah, they're dealing with China in here. Nonetheless, I mean, strong numbers on a percentage basis in terms of what they beat on profit. But, man, the stock giving back a lot of that. You're back only positive by $5. The market getting a little bit of negative action right now. You're negative by about 9 points in the S&P. You get the Dow off 116. You get the Russell negative by 16 points as well. And checking around, too, some of the FANG stocks. We're going to get some numbers tonight. And Microsoft, the big one on the plate tonight. We got a couple, but Microsoft pricing in about a $7.75 move. Stay tuned, folks. We're going to come back. We'll talk to our man Kevin Hanks from Fast Market, TD Ameritrade Network. We'll be talking market action. We'll be right back, folks. Stay tuned.
Golden ratios give shape to everything in our world, represented in the Fibonacci sequence. These special numbers define the patterns that make up our universe. Not even markets can escape the omnipotence of these ratios. Larry Pesavento is a 45-year market veteran who has published nearly a dozen books on the powerful patterns we find in nature and their relationships with the ever-elusive markets. Larry's newsletter, Fibonacci 24/7, will teach you to harness the power of these natural golden ratios in order to create successful trades. Fibonacci 24/7 is designed to teach the tools you need to identify and act on these undeniable and reoccurring patterns. Sign up for Larry's newsletter, Fibonacci 24/7, and you will also receive free access to his trading webinar, Trading Strong Trending Markets. Try out Larry's newsletter risk-free. All of TFNN's newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. TFNN, educating investors.
What's separating you from the most successful men and women on Wall Street? That's right, information. Having all the information gives us the perspective we need to place the right trades at the right time. The TAS Profile Scanner is the premier market profile-based scanner. Powered by its acclaimed TAS proprietary algorithms, this feature-rich scanner instantly filters over 2,500 plus global financial markets, such as stocks, ETFs, commodities, futures, and Forex. This powerful suite of tools leverages instant trade filtering and strategy formulation to show you emerging trades before they happen. For a limited time, you can save $100 off your first month by using the promo code UPGRADE, and you still get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. Level the playing field with the TAS Profile Scanner, which you can find under the Services tab at TFNN.com. Sign up today.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, for free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
Excuse me, shame on me. I had that muted. Coming back, we get the S&P down about 9. We get the NASDAQ 100 down about 8. And, man, we got a big lineup of earnings tonight, folks. We got Apple, Microsoft, and Google coming out with their numbers. You got about 1 out of every 3 S&P 500 companies coming out with their earnings this week alone. Let's jump over to our man, Kevin Hinks, from TD Ameritrade Network, Fast Market, every trading day, folks, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, live on Tiger TV, TD Ameritrade Network, Fast Market, Kevin Hinks, Alex Coffey, and the team at TD Ameritrade Network, breaking down the market action. And I think they're going to need more than an hour today, folks. It's going to be action-packed with everything we got going on the agenda, along with a Fed meeting starting today. Kevin Hinks, good morning.
Good morning, Tommy. Yes, Apple, AMD, Microsoft, Google Alphabet, Visa, Teladoc, Starbucks, Boeing tomorrow morning before the open. I mean, it is a high-profile group of stocks coming out with earnings, Tommy, and all of them should have their own individual story and individual movement. So going to be a crazy day, but this is what we live for, Tommy.
I'm with it, man. I can't wait to watch your program today, Kevin. I love it anyway. But today, talk about everything to talk about to cram in. I mean, Google, how about, you could talk, like you said, you could talk about these companies almost for days on end, all of them, and Microsoft, Apple, Google, Alphabet, let alone you're talking about, like you said, AMD, Starbucks, Visa, it's just endless. But Google, Kevin, it's remarkable the valuation of some of these companies. I just was checking about this, pre-market this morning. I'm taking a look at the market, and I said to myself, okay, we're approaching now where Google, at the depths of COVID, was at 1,013. We're almost 3 times the valuation on Google, and it might be deservedly so. It is deservedly so if that's what the market says it is, right? But Google ads, right? You're talking about YouTube. The whole world is living on YouTube. I get lost on YouTube, rabbit holes that you end up watching endless videos, so forth. But it's remarkable, Kevin, that even when you back it up to like basically going back June of 2019, so you're talking about 2 years ago, that's before COVID, you're 3 times the size of the company on some of these companies, the run they've had. I mean, Apple, it's been staggering. And we got some pretty decent numbers right now. Like I'm looking at Google, you're at about 2,800. You're talking about almost $100 move priced into these equities. Market cap wise, it's just huge swings, market capitalization. The 3 companies alone, you're pushing probably $6 trillion almost of market capitalization between Alphabet, Microsoft, and Apple, all after the bell tonight.
Yeah, and our goal is to not just talk about them. Our goal is to trade them. So when you look at a company like Apple, that'll be one of the highest profile names coming out today after the bell, it's, you could have a positive opinion about Apple, but it just rallied 22%. And after last quarter's earnings, it did a similar, not as big of a percentage, but it rallied into that earnings and then sold off fairly hard after their last earnings report. So there's a lot to figure out and sift through as we look at, right, the fact that a lot of these names, Microsoft a quarter ago had good solid earnings and sold off hard after earnings. So it's not just about reporting on the event and reporting on the earnings, but how to trade it post that. And so that's what we're going to try and figure out today, Tommy.
It's a great point, man, because I try and wrap my head around, right? I mean, Microsoft, and I pulled them up as you were talking about it, Kevin. I mean, they all did. They accelerated. We're going back to the April earnings, right? You had Microsoft trade basically from March 31st into that number on April 26th on Microsoft from 230 to 260. You then pull back to 240. But we just traded basically, Kevin, from June 3rd, so less than 2 months. I got 243 up to about 290. Now, where my brain tries to wrap, around what's happening there is that, do you really have the extension to go to something like 330 or something from a price of 240 with that type of expectation? But don't put it past some of these tech stocks, right? I mean, Tesla, how about some strong numbers for Tesla this morning, Kevin? And they're only up about $6 after making $1 billion for the first time.
Yeah, that's the one I think you want to watch today, because I want to see how this trades once the overall retail market starts to trade it, because I think that could be a game changer here. I really want to watch Tesla, how it reacts during the day, and does it start to grind higher? Because you're right, Tommy, that's some pretty good news out of a company that was often scrutinized for living off of promises. Well, they're delivering across the board. So it's going to be interesting to see how Tesla trades today.
Yeah, I mean, I got that first spike up here. I got the Thinkorswim platform. You spike right to 678 on the dot. 678.35, but immediately following that number, you had some volatility, and you're back to kind of pretty much close. I mean, it's tough to imagine what would happen if they didn't kind of beat, and that's pretty much a beat in terms of their numbers across the board. $1 billion in profit, delivering some vehicles, of course. They're still going to be in China, was part of the conversation out there, and it made me think, maybe just like you're talking about, some of the expectations for these companies coming into earnings. It'd be interesting to see how Tesla opens. So, Kevin, almost too easy of a question with a few things that I know might be on the plate today, but what are you guys going to be discussing coming up at 11 o'clock Eastern time this morning, Kev?
Yeah. These shows write themselves, Tommy. In the A block, we're going to do Microsoft, and then in the B block, like Foley will do a complete presentation on Apple, and we'll trade Apple, and then we'll go to a name and a sector that's had a little trouble, which is AMD. Remember, Texas Instruments was lower, Intel was lower after their earnings report, all the uncertainty going on in chips. AMD will be an interesting one to look at in the last segment. So, yeah, Microsoft, Apple, AMD today. Big show.
And folks, if you haven't checked it out, today is one of the best days to do it. You got $6 trillion in market cap, those 3 companies alone in terms of the Microsoft, Google, and Apple. You got AMD in there. Kevin, you guys had a great conversation about Logitech, talking about Likefolio. You're going to be talking to them today. Logitech, you're down from 120 to 112, and they were really seeing some of that data. They had you doing a switcheroo, man, with your trade in Logitech, and it proved correct. And sometimes it does,
exactly,
man, with that.
Right. They're right there is a reason to watch our show, because Logitech had rallied. They had, sold back off down to a reasonable level where there was a bunch of support. But Likefolio's data was overwhelmingly soft for Logitech. So they flipped me from a passively bullish position to a passively bearish position, and so far it's working out in Logitech.
Kevin Hinks, folks, he is data-driven on that program, Fast Market. And, yeah, Kevin, it pulled back from 140. It was just a great show, man. I didn't trade it, but it was convincing to me as well. And it makes sense fundamentally in some of that aspects. We all stocked up on everything we needed kind of in the home office maybe. And, yeah, you traded from $40 at the lows of COVID to $140, so giving it back to $120. But that was a great show yesterday, man. We look forward to the conversation today, Kevin. And ride 'em cowboy on those earnings, man. We'll be watching at 11 o'clock.
Thanks, Tommy. Have a great day.
You too, Kevin. Take care, folks. Folks, if you haven't checked it out, this week is the week to do it. 1 out of every 3 companies reporting. They're going to be talking to them all. It was an outstanding segment yesterday with Likefolio. The guys over at Likefolio, they do an outstanding job. And, yeah, you got Logitech out with their numbers. They are lower. They had their numbers out after the bell last night, I believe. Yes. Maybe it was this morning they're out with the numbers. They get the conference call going on right now, but you're down about $8. You got to be careful on some of these equities when you trade from 40 to 140. Maybe the pullback isn't done at 120. Stay tuned, folks, when we come back for the open.
Are you having fun trading the markets but having trouble finding like-minded individuals to discuss your trading and investment ideas with? Become an apex predator in the trading markets and join the Tiger's Den Trading Room only at TFNN.com. The Tiger's Den is an exclusive trading room where successful traders from around the world come to exchange trades and ideas. Join the den and surround yourself with the sharpest minds in the trading world. Subscribers to the Tiger's Den are also the first to have their questions answered live on air and can privately chat with our TFNN hosts live during their shows. Interact with other Tigers and Tigresses as they share trading ideas, news analysis, and discuss the market action all trading day. Subscribe to the Tiger's Den risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee and become part of the TFNN trading community. TFNN, educating investors.
You could be making money off the stock market. And if you're already making money off the stock market, you could be making a lot more. Check out TFNN and Tiger TV and get expert investing advice to give you the power to control your financial future. Go to TFNN.com and find the newsletter for you. Whether you're into trading gold, metals, futures, currencies, or options, you'll get advice and analysis to help you seriously get ahead. TFNN also features trading services with a 30-day money-back guarantee for new subscribers, as well as TFNN's Tiger Den Trading Room, trading software, and educational webinars for all trading levels. And make sure you check out Tiger TV for free on TFNN.com or TFNN's YouTube channel for live financial content from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern on market days. Stop watching on the sidelines while other people get rich and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartley's, ABCs, butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com.
This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Welcome back, folks. We got markets open right now. We're pulling back a little bit. We got the S&Ps right at 4,400. We're down about 14 points right now. NASDAQ 100 slightly in the red as well, but all things in context, folks, we might as well be sitting at record highs across the board for the S&P, NASDAQ, and the Dow. Russell, a little bit of a laggard. We're trading right now at 2196, down about 17 points or 0.8% on the session. You got Bitcoin down 1,000, but we're charging higher from where we were overnight at about 11 o'clock. You were at about $2,000. I was going to say points, $2,000 below where you're trading at right now. Let's check in on Tesla, see how it's trading on the open. Man, it gives almost it all back. As Kevin was saying, keep your eye on it, folks, because this might be a sentiment factor that is going to extend to some of the tech stocks. Now, Tesla is its own animal, as we all know. Nothing like Microsoft, Google, and Apple in terms of the valuations and so forth. But as Kevin mentioned, and this is going to be the decision that traders have to make. I mean, you go back to the last earnings season, you come into that number, and you trade lower from earnings on April 28th, 29th, give or take, to about May 12th. So a period of about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, you traded lower and gave back some gains. But then, man, you took off about a month later to the upside. But just like that, I mean, where does this go? Now, you talk about a company like Apple, okay? Apple, you're talking about a company with 16.687 billion shares, folks, almost 17 billion shares, okay? Company's valued at about $2.5 trillion, this company alone. Every single dollar it moves is about $17 billion in market capitalization. You just moved $27. So every $10 is going to be $170 billion in market cap. So what's that? 340 billion you're talking about. It's about $440 billion in market capitalization has been added to Apple over about the last 6 weeks. Now, what you have to factor in is how much market capitalization needs to get added to Apple to appropriately price where supply and demand equal, and are you going to plow higher above this 150 price point? Well, we're going to find out, folks, after the bell tonight, but you better believe there are some lofty expectations when you come into earnings over the last 6 weeks by adding, I mean, what is that? Yeah, it's going to be approximately, 340, about $450 billion in market capitalization you have added over that time. You know what? I'm going to do it exactly right now. We're going to get the calculator up, and we're going to do $27 times the 17. Yeah, $459 billion in market capitalization. Just keep it in mind, folks, because you better believe that expectations are high when you add almost $500 billion into the value of this company just over the period of 6 weeks coming into this earnings event. All right. Now, remember, they already have the expectation somewhere in Apple here about the increase for the suppliers. Remember that story, right? That they're going out to their suppliers and they're looking for about 90 million phones. That's a 20% bump versus the 75 million that maybe the market was looking for. So already you got expectations sky high on Apple. We're down about 0.3% coming into their numbers. We got Microsoft, pretty similar action, down about 0.3%. Now, Microsoft, you're talking about a company valued at remember, this thing just climbed above 2 trillion, it feels like, and we're already at 2.2 almost. Microsoft's got 7.5 billion shares, okay? So they're dealing with 7.5 billion shares. You just traded up $50, okay? So every 10 bucks, 75 billion. What's that? 15, 30. So they added about $375 billion in market cap over the last 2 months, et cetera. Okay? Just lofty numbers, folks, in a big way. Microsoft down about 0.3%. Google shares flat. Google has just been remarkable, as I brought up with Kevin. Now, Google, Alphabet, as they say, 1.87, trillion. The numbers get so, no. Yes, $1.87 trillion company. Now, they are so pricey. They're trading at $2,800. So they only got 670 million shares outstanding. But just a crazy acceleration. We've doubled the share price since September that Google is trading at. And you see, even the run it's had since May, you just traded up $800, almost a 40% pop, about a 35% run this stock has had since May 12th. I can't tell you how the expectations might be. Now, we get to the moves that we're looking for. Google, you're talking about a $100 move, which is basically an at-the-money call or put. It's going to cost you about $50, okay? You want the whole week, you're talking about a $113 move. You pull up the July 30th option expirations. Let's pull it back to at-the-money. And if you want the entire week, it's going to be about a $115 move. And so there you go. You're talking about basically a $55 move in either direction, at-the-money put or call on Google shares. Let's jump to Apple. Apple, you're talking about a $5 move here. And that's about, what are we talking about? 3.5% move on Apple shares. And Microsoft, we're looking for about an $8 move. So a little bit less volatility on Microsoft. AMD coming out with their numbers as well. AMD's looking for about a $5. That's a pricey move there in AMD. We take a look at AMD, bumping up near the highs that we had on July 7th. We were just trading at $75 following their earnings. So you trade up about $20 on that number. They'll be out with their numbers as well. Jumping around to some of the other companies that had their numbers already. Surprising. UPS. This thing's been a one-way rocket ship to the upside, giving back some of those gains finally. You come into COVID at 120. You trade down to 82. We were just recently at 220 following their last earnings, right? And we're going to get back some of those gains, putting it back on a daily to see the run. There was the gap from their last earnings, and you traded. I mean, this is what, you don't want to chase some of these stocks, folks. You get a stock like this, and yeah, if you got early, right, you bought at 190, you could have sold at 220 up here. But man, we're right back to 194, and you're back to the day after you had these last earnings. There's a lot of people underwater. Basically, anybody who bought this thing in the last 3 months, except for the day following their earnings, is in a losing position now for UPS. Just be careful chasing some of these equities, folks. Doesn't mean you can't start with a small position. I mean, Basil Chapman, learned some of this from him. He loves starting with a small position, especially at these stages in terms of the market sitting at all-time highs across the board. Really hard to start positions to that degree, but doesn't mean you can't do it. Now, UPS, revenue in its core domestic unit rose 10.2%. International segment jumped 30%, excluding items. They make $3.06 a share. Market was looking for $2.82. They beat the estimates for second quarter revenue, e-commerce deliveries. You're waiting for the bad part, right? Yeah, I'm waiting for the bad part too, folks. Revenue jumped 14.5% to $23.42 billion. Let's see. They're reining in costs and focusing on high-margin packages under her better, not bigger strategy. I mean, all good there. Not sure the breakdown. Maybe they guided down something degree. Nonetheless, the market not liking it. An indication that you better be crushing it. If some of these numbers trading up big, you got UPS down about 7.2%, giving back some of those gains that it's had most recently. Now, I talked about our man Basil Chapman. Tomorrow, folks, Basil is doing the second leg of his multi-day webinar. Now, he just did his program from 8 till 9. Okay, we're going to replay that coming up at 10 to 11. Basil's going to be guest hosting for my dad, who's out this week. We got Basil hosting. We got Larry hosting some this week. I'm going to be hosting Thursday for my dad. Basil's coming up live from 3 till 4 today. If you head on over to the services tab, folks, and you scroll down, okay, we have Tom O'Brien, my dad. He had done his a while back. Larry's done his as the archive's available. But Basil's is still going on, July 14th and 28th. The 28th is tomorrow. You can gain access to the entire archive from July 14th. Okay, it's about a 6.5-hour archive, I think. You immediately gain access to that. You'll gain access to the event going on tomorrow. That's from 10 till noon tomorrow, a 2-hour live session. You get the archive of the first one, okay? And you go over Basil's entire trading methodology, folks. A great webinar. Basil had an outstanding day one with a bunch of subscribers in there. You also get a month of his opening call, which is a great value in there as well. So check it out. Basil will be in there. Well, have his program. He just did it this morning. Coming up next. All right, folks, we got a little bit of a sell-off. The S&P's down 20 points. Coming into those overnight lows. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you in the market for buying or selling real estate in the Bay Area, including the surrounding St. Petersburg, Tampa, and Clearwater markets? Tiger Real Estate LLC is a firm that has extensive experience in the Tampa Bay area. Whether you're looking to sell your current property for maximum value, or you're in the market for a second home or investment property, Tiger Realty has the experience across all areas of real estate in the Tampa Bay area to help buyers and sellers make the most informed decisions across all price levels. From the price you should be paying per square foot in certain up-and-coming areas to the type of cash flow investment properties are capable of creating, Tiger Real Estate can help you make the best decision when it comes to all areas of the market. Before you make one of the biggest decisions of your financial future, call Tiger Real Estate LLC today at 727-329-8322 or email us at tiger@tfnn.com. That's 727-329-8322. Call us today.
The technology around us is changing every day. With so much happening, it can seem impossible to keep up with all the information. David White's investment newsletter, The Technology Insider, is designed to give you all the information you need to understand the technology that shapes today's markets and tomorrow's future. David White has made his living staying on the cutting edge of technology. His weekly newsletter will give you specific recommendations for value tech stocks, as well as entry prices, target prices, and stops to set for each trade. Dave delivers his weekly newsletters every Friday with updates throughout the week. You can get the Technology Insider at TFNN.com for only $37.50. Sign up for David's newsletter, The Technology Insider, and get an inside look at everything the technology sector has to offer. Try it risk-free today with our 30-day money-back guarantee. TFNN, educating investors.
Will the S&P 500 continue to climb? For bold trades on U.S. large-cap stocks in either direction, trade SPXL, SPUU, or SPXS. Directions Daily S&P 500 Bull and Bear Leveraged ETFs. Direction Leveraged ETFs. An investor should carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses before investing. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, call 866-476-7523 or visit directioninvestments.com. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Welcome back, folks. We get the S&Ps down about 21 points right now, bumping up to the lows we had overnight. You get the NASDAQ, a little bit of an acceleration as well. We're trading at 15,069 for the NASDAQ 100. Dow dropping more than 200 points, and you get the Russell down about 1% right now at 2190. We jump around to commodities. You get the gold contract up about $3 at 1802. We got crude sitting right at about $72 as it had been for yesterday, trading 71.80, and we jump to notes and bonds. We get the 10-year continuing to tick higher right now. You get the 10-year up 10 ticks right now, trading at 134.16. That's correlating to a yield of 1.234%. 1.23% you're talking about on the yield on the 10-year, and we'll jump over to the VIX as we get some negative action. 1906, negative action in the S&Ps, leading to an elevated level in the VIX. All right, jumping around to what else we got going on. Story out here talking about the IMF warning that inflation could prove to be persistent and central banks may need to act. I mean, something we're all kind of aware of. But they're talking about higher prices increase the chance that central banks will start to curb their ultra-accommodative monetary policies. They had already pointed out that if the U.S. were to provide more fiscal support, then this could increase inflationary pressures even further and lead to a hike in interest rates earlier than expected. We know how the conversation goes, folks. They said on Tuesday that it kept its global rate forecast at 6% for 2021, but revised its expectations for 2022. Yeah, and as I say, currently dividing the investment community. You figure this one out, folks. You figure it all out. Contemplating whether a recent surge in consumer prices is here to stay. They're here to stay in some capacity. We'll see in what capacity. That's the question. You got the Consumer Price Index, CPI, 5.4% in June. Fastest pace in almost 13 years. So we'll see how that shakes out. But the IMF out there. Now, speaking of rising prices, how about the home prices out this morning? The 10-city comp, 16.4%. You go to the 20-city comp, 17% year over year from 15% the month before. All 20 cities reporting higher price increases in the year ending May 2021. Phoenix, San Diego, and Seattle reporting the highest year-over-year numbers. I mean, this one is tough to wrap your brain around too, folks. A lot of people saying, maybe I'd think about selling. Well, you're going to sell? Where are you going to live, folks? What are you going to do? You're going to rent? I mean, that's where the conversation becomes interesting, right? When housing prices get ahead of the rental pricing market, that's when usually they're leading to the fact that there might be a pullback. That could be happening. Not sure that that's the case, though. Nationally, prices in May, 16.6% higher than in May of 2020. That's the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Home Price Index. That's an increase from the 14.8% annual increase in April. It's the highest reading in the report's 30-plus years. Did you get that, folks? Phoenix, how about 25.9% year over year? San Diego, 24.7%. Seattle, 23.4%. And they're talking about in here, they have Craig Lazara, Managing Director, Global Head of Index Investment Strategy at S&P DJI, saying basically that I described April's performance as extraordinary, and I'm running out of superlatives to describe what's going on here. 5 cities you saw all-time highest annual gains. Charlotte, Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, and Seattle. Price gains in all 20 cities were in the top quartile of historical performance. Yeah, it's just staggering numbers across the board, folks. The thing is, though, if you sell and you're going to buy anything else, well, what are you going to buy? Because that's all higher as well. And at the same time, right, you have this going on, and you have the IMF saying, guess what, inflation could be coming. So not the end of the world if you got a home to make sure you keep up with some inflation. That's part of the conversation going on as well. But staggering numbers persist there on the right price. I mean, just 16% over a year period. Now, things were okay last year. These comps aren't as bad, as in they aren't as misleading as some of the comps that occur when you're talking about, revenue of a company that was just in the doldrums during COVID. Not the case on real estate. These are staggering numbers across the board, and we'll see how long they last. All right, let's jump into some of the FANG stocks, see how they're trading ahead of their numbers. Now, we get Amazon on Thursday. All right, whoops, not AMN, AMZN. They're backing off with the market right now, down about 0.6. Let's see how the big dogs ahead of their numbers today. Apple giving back a little bit coming into their numbers. Microsoft down about 0.2% as well. Google shares down about 0.2% as well. Now, Google's a real question mark in my mind. It's real, this acceleration it's had since November, October, basically doubling in price. Now, do you remember, folks, when this conversation was going on? I believe it was in about September or August of last year that you had the antitrust concerns really rearing their head in the market. And you had Google trade from $17.33 down to $14.06. I mean, folks, that was about a 20% pullback in that equity. You're talking about trading down $330. Yeah, just shy of about a 20% pullback before this thing really accelerated to the upside. And yeah, we've doubled in price almost to the tick, trading from a price of $14.06 back in September 21st. And just like that, this week we touched 2,800 almost on the dot. 28.06 overnight, and we're trading right now down about 0.2%. And as I said, you got about a $100 move priced into Google, just shy of a 4% move on their earnings. Yeah, that looks staggering, but as I mentioned, folks, we just traded from a price point of 1,400 less than a year ago to 2,800. I mean, for some context here, if an at-the-money put or a call is costing you about $50, well, this thing just moved from 2,600 to 2,800 in the last 4 or 5 trading days, right? There's your sell-off last Monday to start things off. You were down to $25.70. You added $230 to the price of the shares from where we were last Monday to the price that we just hit in terms of the action today. Remarkable. All right, what else we got going on? Jumping around to some of the stocks that we have going on now. It's not just those companies out with their numbers. I'm going to pull up real quick. In terms of the companies they're reporting as well. We talked about the big dogs. We talked about AMD. What you also have in terms of the stocks coming out with their numbers this week as I pull it up. So we get, after the close tonight, we also get Starbucks. That's a big one as well. I mean, some of the other companies, they would be the main event if it weren't for, you got the Apple, Google, and Microsoft. So we got Starbucks out with their numbers. Starbucks has had quite a run recently, too, putting it on a 3-year weekly. You were down to $50 at the lows of COVID. You came into COVID at about 90. You've accelerated higher. Things really accelerating up to 126 recently, 126.32 last week, back to a daily. We're trading at 125.83. Now, they got about a $4.62 move priced into their numbers. Jumping over to the earnings tab, yes, they're out with their numbers tonight. $4.62 move priced for Starbucks. You're talking about a little bit less than about a 4% move. We also get Visa, I believe, out with their numbers. V. There you go. Visa, $6.76 move out with their numbers. Now we get Visa after the bell tonight. Yes, we get PayPal after the bell tomorrow. That'll be interesting. So Visa, about a $6.70 move. PayPal, yes, out with their numbers tomorrow. That's about a 5% move with their numbers. $14. Now this stock, you want to talk about an acceleration, folks. PayPal. Let's back it up to a 3-year weekly. Yeah, how about under $100 during COVID to 304? You just got above the highs that we had from February. That high was 309.14. All right, this is another one to see how we do here because, man, that's twice, right? You came into in terms of we had earnings, you accelerate higher, you give it all back. We had earnings again in May. You accelerate higher. We're going to come into those numbers basically right at all-time highs. You take a look at the daily. The highs made yesterday, 310.16. We're down about 0.7% today. Coming in, they got numbers tomorrow. Stay tuned, folks. We'll go over some of the other companies we got. We got Xilinx. We got Lam Research tomorrow. We got Boeing before the bell tomorrow. We'll take a look at Boeing as well. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, for free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
Markets can rise and fall like the tides. Subscribe to Basil Chapman's newsletter, The Opening Call, and you too can ride the wave. Basil Chapman is an authority in technical analysis. His Chapman Wave trading system has been helping traders identify trends and capitalize on momentum in the markets since 1984. TFNN invites you to test Basil's proprietary Chapman Wave trading methodology with a monthly subscription to the Opening Call newsletter for only $149. Your subscription to the Opening Call comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, as well as daily market updates on key indexes, stocks, and commodities. Ride the wave. Sign up for the Opening Call risk-free today.
Introducing Primal Edge.
Today, it's even more important to take a supplement that complements your health. Primal Edge is specifically formulated to boost your immune system and help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Our early ancestors found all their nutritional requirements in the wild environment. But today, our food sources don't contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that we need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated humic and fulvic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They've been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, without them, life cannot exist.
That's right, Ellen. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, just $89, exclusively at TFNN.com.
This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Welcome back, folks. We got the S&Ps minus 16 points right now. I got a chart of Boeing up here. Taking a look at Boeing. Now, you back things up in terms of from where we came from the lows here. Looking at Boeing coming into their earnings, we're down about 0.5%. We got a weekly chart up here. We got Boeing coming out. Now, I got it up. This is from my newsletter this week, folks. If you're trying out my newsletter, please give it a shot under the newsletter tab or on the front page TFNN. You can try it out. Every newsletter we do, 30-day money-back guarantee, put out an update for subscribers yesterday, just going over some of the companies that we're looking at earnings on the radar this week. So we talked about the big dogs, Apple, Starbucks, AMD, Google, Visa, Microsoft, Cheesecake Factory after the bell as well today. Tomorrow we get Pfizer, McDonald's, you get Boeing before the bell. Now Boeing, before the bell tomorrow, interesting where we are. Check out the acceleration. This is the lows of COVID last year. You touched that level in November, and then we trade up, and we just touched that boundary line, folks. And you match up the top part, that's a pretty parallel line to the bottom line. This might be a channel line. Maybe that's where Boeing catches a bid. Now you get into the Analyze tab. Boeing's looking for about a $6.34 move priced into their numbers. You take a look in terms of where we are. If you wanted a full week of action, you're talking about basically, because it's only Tuesday, folks. Now that's talking about a one-day move, the one-day market maker expected move on the Thinkorswim platform. Basically, the volatility that's implied here, you're talking about a $9.19 move for the week in Boeing. But interesting, when you come in, you're talking about right at the lower boundary line of this trend that we've been in. You come into COVID at 350. Now, really, though, you got to back it up to see in terms of the high before the 737 MAX debacle started. You were at 446 in Boeing. But this might be the channel line. Might take some time here to get back to those prices, but we're coming into earnings right near the lower boundary line. Sometimes that's what you like to see, folks. You set your stop. Now, you can't set your stop on earnings, okay? But you can use options. I use options sometimes in my newsletter. Watch Fast Market today, get a little bit of a glimpse of the market action that they'll have going on as well. But getting back to some of the other companies, just to keep your eye on later in the week, we'll be talking about these. We got a lot, folks. We got a lot in a big way. So tomorrow we got Facebook after the bell. That'll be a big one with PayPal. Thursday before the open, Comcast, Merck, MasterCard, Keurig Dr. Pepper, Yum Brands, PG&E, Amazon, the big one Thursday after the bell. We also get Overstock, Twilio, Skyworks, Gilead, and then Friday before the open, Caterpillar, Exxon, Chevron, Will. Stay tuned, folks. Basil's program from 8 o'clock is coming up right now. Live program the rest of the day at TFNN. We'll be right back.